Hey gods and goddesses, Mercury retrograde. So this is the third Mercury retrograde of the year, happening on November 9th all the way until November 29th. So this is a good 20 days that we're going to experience Mercury in retrograde. And it's going to be in two signs, Sagittarius, and it's going to end in Scorpio. So Sagittarius is a sign, of ancestral wisdom. It's a sign of philosophy, of truth seeking. And then it's going back into the sign of inner alchemy, our deepest desires and hidden truths. And so these are pretty important and pretty impactful when it comes to our way of life and our thoughts and our communication. Mercury retrogrades, it generally mean that, Mercury is moving backwards, but not really like literally, like in the skies, actually energetically moving us backwards towards like memories, hidden information, even the flow of our communication. This is like signaling a pause for us so we can go over contracts, even travel, our mental processing. I think that it brings up a lot of unresolved conflicts as well, things that have to do with our subconscious patterns that need review. Mercury is acting as this guiding soul in our subconscious mind, but it pushes us into self-reflection or soul reflection, right? So it allows us to like rethink our inner stories, our inner truths, be able to rewrite inner agreements and to channel, lost stories, even, things that are misaligned, and try to get us to stop telling the same stories. This is a sacred alchemy. I do think that is turning this like confusion and mistakes and even delays that we have with our communication into lines of like clarity, wisdom and empowerment and inner power. Mercury retrograde really represents the journey through life, or that we tell ourselves that we're going through life, and it moving us towards like higher wisdom, or this inner purification of discipline, of like speech, of refining our thoughts and the way that we speak and the way that we're understanding and the way that we're understanding what's going on in our life in order to like really launch ourselves forward. With Mercury being in retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius from the 9th to the 18th, this is going to emphasize on our belief system, our philosophies of life, education, even our long-term visions. It prompts us to question our old assumptions, even when it comes to like our inherited belief systems and the ways and maps that we use to navigate our life. Sometimes we can bring doubt and restlessness. Well, sometimes Mercury can bring doubt and restlessness, especially when it's in retrograde, because it is the teacher of the soul. It's the mental formulas that we replay in our mind, and that we use to reflect on our spiritual journeys, especially in Sagittarius, and even our ancestral wisdom, even the way that we think about higher ideals. So this is mental alchemy that we're going to be experiencing for these days, and you are invited to really reevaluate what knowledge means to you, how it serves your growth, and also what's outdated as well. I think that it brings up understanding of life, and creating this ritual in order for you to turn it into some type of wisdom. I think that is like translating to like raw knowledge into inner comprehension. So this phase really asks you, what is it that you actually believe in that's going to support your soul's path? When Mercury moves into Scorpio, excuse me, on the 18th all the way until the 29th, this is slipping back into the energy of intensity, of like mental intensity, of transformation, of this deep psychological channel that we're supposed to have for ourselves. Like it really emphasizes on the hidden truths that may be buried, even shared resources, intimacy, and shadow patterns. Most importantly, this is our shadow self. Even karmic debts can come up, unresolved emotions, past traumas, secrets that need to be reviewed. They come up in order to be healed. It can feel very, very emotional. It almost feels like, well, it is. Mercury is trying to guide you to the soul of your underworld, or, the under parts of your soul that you have to confront, to where it's been hidden, where you must reclaim your personal power, where you must regenerate yourself. And this is a very much transit or retrograde of inner alchemy. It's at its deepest core. And excuse me, it turns these emotional darkness into clarity and sovereignty, into power, inner power, even mental power. This is a path through like judgment, to purification. I think that it's building this inner structure in yourself and teaching you discipline within the mind, discernment within the mind, and intuition. And these are words, right? Mercury is our words, our speech. So these are using circuit words, using thought, using communication. Even when it comes to like intimate spaces, or one-on-one conversation, even the conversations that you have with yourself, and really being honest with yourself. What must die, what must be released, and what must be transformed in order to step into your truest power. So yeah, let's get started, and let's start with Aries. Hey Aries, Mercury retrograde is going to stir up your ninth and your eighth house. So this is pulling you into a journey that is both internal and external. This is profoundly internal for you. You may start to question these long held beliefs and philosophies, or where your life has been headed, even when it comes to educational plans, travel, where you actually, are going. You can feel pretty blocked and confused when Mercury is in retrograde. I would urge you to take some time to really rethink these things. This is a time where you can feel like you're really tapping into the archetype of your soul's truth. You're discovering which ideals are authentic and which are inherited illusions. And so as Mercury is moving into Scorpio, you start to enter this realm of intimacy, of deeper, connection with yourself, of deeper understanding of your own psychological hidden currents, even some shared resources with the next person, like whichever is a shadow aspect, or whatever it has control over your mind, buried fears, even ancestral patterns, they really come to the surface. Karmic debts come to the surface. And because it's in the ninth and eighth house, like I said, it's more internal than external, but it can be external as well. You are being demanding. The universe is demanding you to confront these, these subconscious or conscious things that you need to release. And I think that if it's an external thing for you, you're going to start to see that a lot of things are making you turn inward, but if it's an internal for you, you're going to have a period of reclaiming your personal power. Even so, external, internal, they're both trying to help you reclaim your power. So there's a lot of emotional truths that come to light for you, Aries, even when it feels like you're negotiating these things as well. But allowing this transformation to naturally happen can really restructure your inner foundation. So you really want to be aware of that any type of illusions that you may have, or anything that's inherited, anything that's pushed upon you, anything that is being hidden from you, like the veil is going to be lifted, so where you can have time to reflect on your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, and bring up real truth about what's going on in your life, emotionally, like where the intensity is actually coming from, and where your shadows are trying to reveal themselves to you in order to free you from something. So that's all I have for you, Aries. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Aries. So moving to Taurus. The Mercury retrograde is illuminating your 8th house and also your 7th house. So this brings matters of like shared resources, intimacy, even like relational dynamics, most importantly relational dynamics to the forefront. There can be misunderstandings, Mercury's in retrograde. There can be financial entanglements that you have. There could be emotional attachments. There could be old contracts that can appear and expose itself in order to resolve itself, especially when it goes direct. You have a clearer mind, but it's bringing up unresolved issues, most importantly. And I think it becomes clear where your trust has been misplaced or been misused, or even, boundaries have been blurred. Like Scorpio's intensity, even within the mind, it really asks for you to go deep emotionally and be honest with yourself. And you're tapping into the deepest parts of your shadow work in order to have discernment in relationships, in interactions with people. And Mercury's function is like as a guide to help you through these undercurrents of relational karmas. It can bring up a lot of relational karmas, or where you can see the patterns of relational karmas and you keep rethinking them and keep rethinking them. Ultimately, it's trying to help you reclaim your energy, even something that's you maybe have surrendered, or something that you may have to realign with, which is your energetic energy or your power. And even with those who you want to share it, or this is what you're going to ultimately learn, you want to share it so your truth is being honored, especially your soul's worth and your soul's truth, and you're realigning and readjusting those things emotionally, what I'm saying, psychologically, and even physically in some type of way, because you're now starting to tap into those deeper parts of intimacy with yourself and with others. And anything that's unresolved is going to ask you to resolve them. And by the end of the month, when Mercury goes direct in your seventh house, you're going to feel like you can make important decisions. Like you can move forward knowing your worth and knowing what your soul is worth, and honoring your truth and speaking that as well. And you feel free and liberated at the end of the day, because you chose yourself, Taurus, right? And you chose the thing that you want, and whatever you want, even if you think that it's outworldly or outerworldly or out of this world, you can have that. And you don't want anyone telling you that that's not real and that it can't happen. And so you have to go back over your own tendencies in order to really come to that type of realization. So yes, Taurus, that's all I have for you. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Taurus. So moving to Gemini. Okay, Gemini. So Mercury retrograde is going to be in your 7th and 6th houses. And so this is trying to uncover the hidden tensions that you may have in partnerships, even in your daily routines and health practices. You can't do what you don't want to do, Taurus. Not Taurus. Gemini, you can't do what you don't want to do. So any type of misconnections, you can do what you don't want to do, right? It's called discipline. However, because we're talking about Scorpio, this is what your soul is demanding be done in order to transform into something better. So there can be miscommunications that happen, in your work. You're just like, your attention can be on something else, right? You can have, there's when we're talking about Scorpio, or we're talking about the 7th house, it's like your discernment is trying to make itself known. Like, you're using your intuition, or let's just say your mental intuition. And if you want more out of life, you really have to let go of what is not giving you more out of life. So there's this discernment that's going to, come to you. Even old habits that need to be healed, are coming to you. They're coming to your workspace, in how you service other people, and even relationships might return to you. But this is really urging you to reflect and reorganize. I think that Scorpio's influence, even Sagittarius influence, it just turns this attention towards like inward. Like you are guided to recognize these patterns, or these unseen patterns in your behavior and the behavior with relationships. And you want to integrate these lessons that they cultivate discipline on a day-to-day basis, even emotional clarity. And so this is a deeper alignment with your soul's path, but you have to connect with yourself. Like you don't want to do what you don't want to do. And especially if you know that it's not actually going to get you towards where you want to go, you're not with someone who's growing or developing at the same pace as you. And that's not always going to happen, right? People grow in different ways. However, you want to, because we're talking about the seventh house and the eighth house, right? You want to go far, and what you're doing right now, it's going to take you far. It's either going to stunt your growth or have you grow even further. And so you're starting to pay attention to those things. So definitely be careful and pay attention to where your attention is being drawn to, like where it is going. Make sure you draw it towards yourself and your own mental like formulas. I mean, Mercury is the natural ruler of the sixth house. And so Mercury in the sixth house is having you get organized with your own mental structures in order to nitpick and literally get rid of what doesn't work for you, Gemini. So yes, that's all I have for you. I hope that was helpful. Oh yes, and Gemini, don't sign any contracts. Don't sign anything that is going to be like long term, especially in Scorpio. You may have, more intense or emotional energy, and Mercury is Mercury in a water sign. You don't want to make decisions from your emotions. You want to make decisions, using logical thought. So don't just sign anything, especially if it has to do with like long term, like getting married and all of these things. Definitely take time, literally the whole month, to make that decision, and that's where discernment comes in for you, Gemini. So yes, that's all I have for you, Gemini. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Gemini. Cancer. Hey, Cancer. So the Mercury retrograde is going to happen in your sixth and fifth house. And so this is highlighting health and daily routines, even your creativity, your sense of joy, and your emotional expression. So past creative projects can emerge for like revision. And while you're dealing with health routines or these minor, I won't say these minor things, but I will say that these minor things, we're talking about the sixth house. So, your health routine, something may need your attention, right? And whatever you're dealing with, of course, day to daily, it has an effect on the way that you express yourself or the way that you channel your inner child. So you want to really pay attention to what's going on in your day-to-day basis, because it may cause some little like disalignments throughout your day, even when it comes to like, I'm not creative enough, or I can't think enough for me to create this certain things, like I'm not connecting to my joy because this is going on. You just want to feel it's like you're feeling pushed towards duty and pleasure and work and like your personal joy. And so you want to reveal, and so not you want to reveal, but the universe is going to reveal to you where balance has been lost. And Mercury encourages you to really like ritualize your days and ritualize your art while it's in retrograde. So there can be some reflection, of course, going on. There's, the universe is trying to offer you insight into how you can nurture yourself and also express your desire. Scorpio's energy here is going to intensify your emotions and bring hidden fears. It can bring passions to you or patterns of the subconscious. It's trying to allow you to reclaim your joy, and align with your daily actions that help you reclaim your joy in order for your souls to be developed, to understand that your soul has deeper needs, right? It's like what you do today is going to reflect on tomorrow. So it's like what you are doing today is ultimately going to bring you towards your creative ambitions. If you are, while Mercury's in retrograde, you don't really have to, it's like, I want to say that it stops your creativity, but it has you reevaluating so much that you're overthinking creativity. Creativity is supposed to flow. There's joy. You have to really create from expression. And when Mercury is in retrograde, it's almost like you can't express yourself because you have to go here, or you have duties to do this and you have duties to do that. But in every little step in this month is going to lead you towards a better outcome at the end of the month when Mercury goes direct, because you're going to see you had to go over what you do in a day in order to make more time for joy, in order to actually see that creative the creative flow is a creative flow. It's supposed to flow through you. It's not like really forced. You know what I'm saying? You create from a space of being inspired. And I think that Mercury, when it's in retrograde, you can't really find that place of inspirement. You're like, I have to do this though. And so so your soul has deeper needs, and you're gonna get in contact with that when Mercury goes into when Mercury is direct, because it's like it's pulling you towards that, your creative side or your child side. Even your children can really demand your attention. Right now, if you have children, they can demand your attention, or really your inner child, any type of creativity where you have to really go outside yourself and express desire, and even when it comes to like nurturing certain things. That's the fifth house. Nurturing certain things, you want to do it with a sense of ease and flow, and not that you have to do it, but you do it because you enjoy it. So you'll start to see what you do because you enjoy, what you don't do because you just like have to do. It feels like I must do this. This is a duty of mine. Okay, so yes, that's all I have for you, Cancer. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, Cancer. Leo, hey Leo. So the retrograde motion is happening in your natal fifth house and your natal fourth house. So yeah, sorry Leo, I just looked at something really quick and I got off track. But yes, the retrograde motion is in your fifth house and also in your fourth house. And so this brings a sharp focus to family dynamics, to romance, to creativity, to past lovers, creative endeavors, anything that you're involved in that is like pretty personal, like projects. These things are going to resurface. It's demanding honest reevaluation or completion because of what's going on at home, Leo, or the uncomfortability that you're finding with the things that you're surrounded by, like domestic issues and even ancestral issues that have appeared in your life, or they're gonna reappear in your life. This is really prompting you for emotional healing and boundaries setting. Your creativity is very important to you, Leo, right? You understand the fifth house because you're ruled by the sun. You're ruled by shining your light upon another person. And if that light can't shine, it becomes very depressive, very dim, very just not, it's tension. It's not where you're supposed to be. And so with this Mercury retrograde, it brings up that irritation. And I think that tension does arise when it comes to like your freedom and your emotional security. Mercury is trying to guide you to explore the foundations of your emotional life. And even when it comes to reconciling like familiar patterns and reclaiming your authentic expression. Mercury moving through Scorpio is intensifying this process. It's making it this powerful period of inner empowerment, personal empowerment, and even inner alchemy. You can you can transform things and create it into a body of art. And so that's what this is kind of like teaching you and telling you. Mercury is like your creative endeavors, anything that you get into, and it can do with children, it can do with your upbringing. You're supposed to transform it into something that it wasn't before. This is true inner alchemy that has to do with turning something so-called bad or negative or traumatizing or ridiculous, or that causes just a lot of emotional friction, into something that brings joy and honor and integrity into the next person, right? Or into yourself, but you're making it for a next person. So let's say you are speaking these things out loud, or you're creating an art, and people can really get in touch with this, right? They're like, oh my goodness, this is how I feel. You're actually helping someone else, by freeing yourself from these things that are issues in your life, right? And the issues are coming from your domestic and home life, Leo. And so throughout the whole month, or let's just say 20 days of the month, but you can still feel it this whole month of November. you want to really transmute pain into pleasure, transmute pain into something that's going to help the next person. If you have children, you want to use your own childhood experiences. Don't make those mistakes. Realize what you're saying to your children. What are you saying to even your inner child? Allowing your inner child to come out and express itself, and not trying to put it down because you're 50 something and you're supposed to be mature. That's not a thing. I still feel like I'm 15 years old. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you rushing to grow up fast and rushing to be like mature, it doesn't make sense to me. We are truly children at heart, and what we go through when we're younger, it seems so much bigger than us, but really it's just supposed to teach us something, and really try to learn how to transmute this. That's what Mercury's trying to teach you, how to transmute it into something that is really helpful, and really can settle out your thoughts, Leo. So yes, that's all I have for you, Leo. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Leo. Hey, Virgo. So Virgo, in this Mercury retrograde is happening in your natal fourth house and your natal third house. Excuse me. Let me go to Virgo's chart. Yeah. So your natal first house and excuse me. I'm sorry. I should just cut it off and start it again. But no, I'm gonna look at the Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde for Virgo. So, okay, yes. So, Mercury, if we think about the Mercury retrograde in your third and your fourth house, Virgo, we're thinking about Mercury trying to uncover these hidden family patterns and dynamics that have to do with the home, and even your communication style. Like, whoa, it's really like you must start to resolve, let's just say unresolved, like when the retrograde is going on, unresolved tensions that have to do with relative, that have to do with siblings, neighbors, mind. Your mental formulas can structure. It's almost like your mind, because Mercury is your ruler as well, and your mind is playing all of these old stories and memories in your head, trying to confuse you of like stuff that's not real, or it is real, but you have already went past it. And Mercury is just trying to psychologically, subtly make you notice, if that makes sense, right? And it can feel like these persistent patterns are trying to influence your thoughts and influence your speech. But by the end of the month, you're going to realize, you're going to reconcile with these things. That inner voice that we all have on our shoulders telling us this and that nonsense. And even when it comes to like our family patterns and dynamics, so I don't know about you, Virgo, but what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling is like the fourth house is like our ancestral wounds and patterns and our childhood and what we go through. Like, you can almost sometimes hear your mother's voice, like, don't do that. Like your father's voice, like, don't do that, right? Or even your brothers and sisters' voice, where they would do things out of the ordinary, or they'll tell you you weren't smart, or they'll tell you that you're wrong, or they'll try to fix you, or they're fixating on trying to fix you, like you're a problem. And so this time is really about aligning to your inner home. Like, home is where your heart is centered, and when you are empowered by the self, right? And even your environment can really reflect your mental environment as too. So you want to be careful and extract the ancestral wisdom other than the ancestral trauma and terror that is being that has been brought upon you in your lifetime. So I guess what I'm saying is that all of these things are going to come to the surface during the retrograde, but by the end of the retrograde, you're bringing clarity to these like emotional currents that really shape your worldview, right? Because Mercury is your ruler. And with Scorpio's energy here, this is really getting you to, or encouraging you to dive deep into like the different appearances that are you see. You know what I'm saying? Go beneath the appearances that you see, Virgo, and try to like uncover the motivations behind certain things and the emotional truths that have been previously like concealed or taken away from you. Like, oh, you can't, things that are being trying to be hidden from you, but you can see past it if you're really looking, and not with the eyes but with the mind, with patterns and things that are repeated. And it's just a very subtle thing, but it's so persistent that you can see it in some type of way, Virgo. And you know you really want to think about the conversation threads too, because old conversations can come up, old thought processes, they can really resurface, and this may cause tension. And even if you have unresolved tension with the next person, try to talk them out, but it may not be a time where they're going to get, during the retrograde, they're going to actually get solved. It's just up, you have to notice it, and you have to notice how it is affecting your worldview, Virgo, and how it's affecting your thoughts, or influencing your personal thoughts, you know? And so that's really the key here. And it feels like it's hidden because it's very subtle. It's like someone said something and you're like, why are you still saying that? Or it just triggers something inside of you, or like, it really makes you wonder in some type of way. And if it makes you wonder during this retrograde period, it's probably time for you to heal that thing, because like, how long are you going to tell me the same thing that you've been telling me like in the past, and I'm gonna let it like do something for me? Other times, like, not other times, but this time I really think you're gonna have the voice to be like, stop saying that to me, or I won't be around you. I'm not gonna give you my mental capacity to keep on messing with my mind. And so it's kind of like that, because the third and the fourth house, in Virgo, for you, Mercury being your ruler, this is very like much a mental jungle, mental battle that you can be having in order to heal and clear up these mental thoughts that you may have, right? And really just honestly uncover the motivations behind why they're even saying that. Some people try to like reflect or project their own mental stuff, traumas, and just their own mental formulas upon you, because they know that it's going to get to you. Or they try to people fixate on a lot of things, Mercury, to with it being your ruler, I'm sure that you understand, where it's like, I need to pick apart things and I need to really figure out how I can fix it, because if this is being thought about, this is for a reason, and there's a way to think myself out of this. And by Mercury being in Scorpio and Sagittarius, this is about adjusting your philosophy in order to really change the way that you're seeing the world, Virgo. I think that makes sense. I think what I just said makes sense, Virgo. Well, you tell me, because that's what it is. It's just this mental this mental fight, or this mental game that you're going to win, because it's your ruler. Like, you can't really, it's, of course you're gonna solve it. That's the thing. It's like solving a puzzle, but no one can really play that type of mental game with you, and no one can endure, no one has that mental strength. So it's kind of funny, but it's not kind of funny when you are figuring out why people are saying this. Oh, you're just saying this because that's how you feel, or that's how you think. I don't think like that. This is my spiritual journey, and this is where I'm headed. So yes, Virgo, I had a lot of fun doing your Mercury retrograde overview. But yes, that's all I have for you, Virgo. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, Virgo. Libra. Hey, Libra. Okay, so I just saw 27. What is that? Add 2 plus 7 is 9 plus 9. Oh, that's equals out to 9. Wow, this is the year of the 9. Okay, something is completely over for you, Libra. And I think that, well, since the retrograde is going to happen in your third and your second house, this is affecting your communication, right? Your learning, your personal resources, your self-worth. I think something is going to really fall off, really be let go of when it comes to the way that you feel about yourself. There can be a lot of misunderstandings in communications, of course. There can be repeated conversations to where you are reflecting on, like unfinished things, if that makes sense. Unfinished conversations, unfinished things that have to do with resources. You may not be able to learn as quickly as you would like to learn. You may have to retake something, retake a class, relearn something, re-say something, or keep readjusting the way that you're saying something so that the next person can get it. I think that this is trying to have you examine your self-worth and your materialistic attachments or values. And those, we have to end some of those stories that we keep telling themselves. I need a job in order to get money. Like, is that really a thing? Like, if we dig deeper, if we're talking about Scorpio, right, we're digging deeper. That's not a thing. It comes to having self-esteem, having self-esteem in order to really go after what you want, and having the right mindset to keep building you up and investing energy in the right places. And so Mercury retrograde is just like bringing these up these unfinished things. So there's a battle that you're going to have, of course, in the mind and your self-worth. But I think that by the end of the month, it's definitely going to clear away, or it's going to end. Like, this is the year of, or the 9 is number of like completion. And you really have to get a deep overview of how you're investing your energy, both in thoughts and into your material life. What needs to be stopped? Because we can put a lot of mental energy into things that we don't need to. And that's what feeds your finances in the second house. And whatever is feeding up your mind, it's kind of like what you're attracting for emotional abundance. You're ruled by Venus, right? Excuse me. And you really want to be mindful of the influence of your hidden like financial entanglements, financial matters, your emotional attachments, even your shadow beliefs. I think that's the key thing of what I'm trying to say, Libra. Like, your shadow beliefs and your value, this is being brought into awareness of yourself, of light. Like, it's brought to your attention. And it can be so frustrating because it's like you've invested energy into thinking something that had literally been affecting your communication style, or is literally be affecting the way that you're trying to learn something, or the way that you're trying to connect with something, these personal resources, where it's not happening, right? And you're like, why is it not happening? It's so frustrating. But I think the Mercury retrograde is like, you have the opportunity to restructure your material and mental foundations in order to redirect this type of energy. Energy is really everything. And if we give away the self-worth, or we really give away our value, it's harder to get it. Especially with Mercury, because your mind is constantly running and talking and saying things about, and Pluto is a ruler of this house too. So it has an influence on your second house, right? And, Jupiter is the ruler of your third house. So it's like, you have to be optimistic and you have to have worth in your value. So, this can be, I wouldn't say that it's very frustrating. I mean, it is frustrating because when you realize, like, I've been giving like mental energy to things that don't make sense or don't value me back, you start to re-examine your worth, re-examine the things that you actually deserve, and start talking differently, start learning different things. Maybe you need to switch something that you're learning into something else, right? Maybe you need to go into psychology, or you need to go into the depths, and you need to go to the bottom of how is monies or finances, or read some of those books that tell you about how your mind connects with finances, or how you can attract finances. I don't know those books, but there are books that teach you about, financial abundance, but that have to do with like your self-worth, aligning those two things. I think that's the best thing that you can do during this retrograde. Read some of those books, search some of those articles, think like a billionaire or something like that. So that's really good. That can be really helpful for you, Libra, during this time, because you don't want to frustrate yourself too much, because you're going to get the answer that you're seeking, but it just brings up a lot of self-esteem, issues, and really the undercurrents of your self-worth. So yes, that's all I have for you, Libra. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Libra. Okay, Scorpio. So Scorpio, the Mercury retrograde is going to affect your second and also your first house of you. And, you know, the first house emphasizes on identity, and the second house emphasizes on, your values, your worth, your self-esteem. And even, the first house, the second house, they talk about self-expression, personal resources, personal direction, your inner self. And there can be past financial decisions that come to light, even self-esteem issues that come to light. There's emotional attachments that can return for re-evaluations. Emotional attachments, I'm saying, for re-evaluations, because like, you could have these attachments to things that you actually need to let go of, that have nothing to do with you claiming your value. You know what I'm saying? So it's like mental, we're talking about the mind, because Mercury is literally, I want to say raping the mind, but it has your mind running rapid. Your mind is really running rapid, and to where you're like psychologically trying to confront certain things about the patterns that really affect the way that you assert yourself or claim your value. So it's like, I'm going to dig and dig and dig. So Mercury is literally digging through your mind, Scorpio, digging through your self-worth in order for you to have like function with a deeper inner self. There's this mirror that can appear, and it's really trying to get you to look at your inner self and try to uncover where your personal power has been misaligned, or it's been siphoned, or it's been, most importantly, misaligned. And the energy of Scorpio, which is you, it brings intensifying like introspection. You are really making these deep strides to transform your mind, or to transform your direction. And so you have to really deal with these hidden enemies, or these hidden elements within yourself or within your own psyche that are misaligning you to your authentic identity. You have to align to your authentic identity, and it involves you really confronting the inner self and the inner stories that you play and the memories that you hold on to. Your sign can be, Scorpio could be very, very obsessive, going over. It's an investigator, it's a researcher, it's trying to learn, it's trying to really get to the deep depths of something. And because of that, your personal power is through the roof, Scorpio. However, we can use our power, we can think that we wield power, but truly we're supposed to embody it. And so that's when it comes to like embodying your own wisdom, embodying your own sense of self, introspecting in order to transform it and transmute it into you being a stronger version of yourself, having a stronger mind. And so, those things can be really tricky, but ultimately I feel like this is making you stronger in the mind, so that everything flows to you more abundantly. And it flows, what I mean by abundantly, I mean that it's not hard for you to think positive about yourself, or have positive outlooks about the things that you can attract and obtain in this world. You can take your talents to a lot of places if you really believe it. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes a lot of trauma and self-worth issues can come up with Mercury, making you rethink them and readjust them, and they become a part of your mind. And it's almost intense. It's almost very intense, more than you're used to, because it's going to be in retrograde, and it has like you hearing things and people, and it has like people talking to you a lot, right? Or you talking a lot, and you want to be mindful that you're saying the right thing, Scorpio. And I mean the right thing, I mean self-empowerment, self-mastery, self-understanding, self-forgiveness, right? And so yes, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys on the next video. So let's go to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, this Mercury retrograde is going to travel through your first house and also your 12th house. And so this is placing a lot of focus on self perception, your subconscious mind, even spiritual solitude, these unconscious patterns as well, Sagittarius. And you may feel like you are internally restless, and that you may also question your direction of life. And I think you will question your direction of life, you know, yes, most importantly, or even question the relationships that you're entangled with, or the ways, you know, that these relationships have a hold or influence your mind or your mental structure. You can feel like you can feel like you're letting old habits cause you fear. And there can be hidden fears around certain things, subconscious blocks that can emerge. These things are emerging for your review. You know, Mercury is really guiding you through the hidden parts of yourself, the ones that you try to hide from other people, or the ones that's even hidden to you. You know, you may not be aware of the certain mental formulas and patterns that you have, but it's trying to offer you deeper insight into the patterns that influence your outer worldly expression. So you have to, you know, with Scorpio going into Scorpio to, you know, your 12th house, it's like it's deepening your emotional and spiritual exploration in order for you to integrate the wisdom of past wounds and hidden, you know, aspects of your identity to prepare for a more aligned future. You know, Sagittarius, if that makes sense, because it's like you're taking the parts of yourself that are not ugly, but we think it's ridiculous because it's the past and I should have known better, but you're wiser now. So it's like taking the wisdom and transforming it into a more empowered sense of yourself. Even if you have to go backwards, you have to really take time to like be silent, right? And be alone and really reflect and really write things out and, you know, listen to music, sit by yourself, you know, take a swim, you know, do something that is just you're doing by yourself where you're reflecting, but you're ultimately wise, Sagittarius. So it's like you had to do this in order to gain this spiritual strength, you know, like a spiritual warrior. You had to fight these battles in order to gain a sense of self. And so like your self-perception, it really becomes a focus for you. And you have to be very mindful of how you see yourself, right? And the unconscious patterns that come to light, they're trying to align you with your future. You may have these unconscious patterns that, you know, when we're talking about, I'm saying unconscious patterns, it means that things that you're not aware of, but during this retrograde or as it's ending, you're gonna be becoming more aware of. And so the unconscious patterns, now that they become conscious to you, you have the wisdom in order to change them and transmute them into a better version of yourself. You can use wounds to heal yourself. You can use pain to strengthen yourself as well, right? It doesn't always have to dwindle up in pain. It now becomes power, right? And power, having power within your sense of self and your sense of self, you know, perception is damn powerful, very much, because it changes your life direction. You can change your life direction, right? Even as you're questioning it, even as you're trying to review it, you can guide yourself towards, you know, a newer sense of self that takes you further, right? And so, yes, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Capricorn, hey Capricorn. So the retrograde is going to happen within your natal 12th house and 11th house. And it's bringing this karmic focus of, like, you know, certain social dynamics that you may have, even spiritual dynamics that you may have. And there could be hidden fears and old friends that come to light again, like they resurface again, even unfinished like group obligations or unfinished things, like unfinished visions that you may have had, right? And there's this period or these patterns of isolation that you can experience that's trying to help you uncover these unconscious beliefs that are influencing the way that you connect with other people. And Mercury is trying to guide you to reflect on the collective consciousness and your spiritual responsibility and your inner consciousness. And, sometimes, like, what the world thinks, we think that we think. But it's really like we're in a pool of consciousness with the whole world, but we have our own sense of self, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take on the whole world. You have your own personal vision that adds to the world. And it feels like you're taking on the whole world, but that's not really your responsibility. You have responsibilities to your spiritual self and your spiritual your spiritual sense of self. And so this can be offering you a chance to really clear these karmic ties, right? And I feel like the energy does kind of intensify, and it needs you to like purify your inner self first before you can like give to the world. This is a time that's definitely going to reveal hidden motivations when it comes to transforming, your social circles, and when it comes to like your spiritual interactions, what actually motivates you to, so-called take on the world, or so-called, take on the responsibility of doing so much in order to reach the longer vision. It's truly like spiritual before physical. Spiritual meaning that you have to see it within yourself in order for you to really strive towards this thing, Capricorn. Um let's just say, the 12th house has to do with like karma, and the 11th house has to do with the path that we're meant to like walk with others in order, to achieve our dreams, and things of that nature. But it can have to do with a lot of collective consciousness. And you have to, like I said, you really have to confront your own demons, and you have to confront your own fears. You cannot project your fears onto what the world needs, because you're supposed to lead the world in a different direction and a different thought process. Or if you think this about the world, and that's how it's going to be, because that means you think that about yourself, Capricorn. So you really have to pay attention of that, when you have to say, if you're afraid of something, meaning like, let's say you could be afraid to confront the responsibility of something that you could be addicted to, right? Or something that it's not good for you, but you feel like, I've been doing it, or this is something that has been going on for so long, like, so it's like it's something that makes you just internally restless. Let's just say that if it makes you internally restless, and it's something that you're doing, for a fact that it's going to make you question how the world is, it's going to make you realize like the world is making me do this, but ultimately it isn't. You have to find out what is hidden behind that fear, what's hidden behind that like revelation that you're coming to, because that involves reflection. And it's not like, how can I say this, Capricorn, so that I understand and that it makes sense to you. You have to see what unconscious beliefs are influencing the way that you connect to this world. That is the best way that I can say it, Capricorn, because this is also goddamn mental. That is just like, it's like internal, talking about the 12th house, 11th house. Like, this is the inner self, most intimate self, the self that you hide. Like, I really couldn't tell you about yourself unless I see your 12th house, unless I see how your chart is interacting with these transits or with this retrograde, right? So yes, definitely know that unfinished business is coming to your doorstep, and even things that you try to hide or isolate yourself from, they're bringing themselves to your doorstep. And yes, but this is offering you a chance to really clear these ties. So you can do it, Capricorn. Really, by the end of this retrograde, you're gonna really have different motivations, if that makes sense, right? You're gonna have different interactions with people, right? So yes, that's all I have for you, Capricorn. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Capricorn. Hey, Aquarius. Okay, so Aquarius, Um, the retrograde is going to be happening in your 11th and 10th house. And let me go to Aquarius chart. I started speaking before. Um, yeah, so your 11th and 10th house Mercury is going to be in retrograde. And um Aquarius, the 11th house in the 10th house has to do with networks, friends, career goals, uh, you know, uh, social connections that we have, these ambitions. And this is coming up as like these past connections, these past social connections, these past unfulfilled ambitions, or these personal or professional misunderstandings. These are going to surface, and you can notice that you have been repeating patterns in how you engage with groups and how you pursue authority. Mercury trying to have you go over, reassess, really asking you to reassess these the way that you're dealing with the collective structures. Like, what is your place in these collective structures? What is your place within this world? And having you align with a more authentic purpose. Scorpio coming into play, this is asking you to confront these hidden agendas that have to do with power dynamics and allowing your strategic realignment to really propel you forward for conscious growth. So for the 11th and 10th house, Aquarius, Mercury up there, and it's in retrograde, you really don't want to make long-term decisions. You want to reflect on the decisions that you have already made. And sometimes this can bring up conflict within communication style. You want to speak the truth, but is the truth really gonna, hit home for other people? Is it authentic truth that you're speaking, or are you just being harsh with your words? Or are you just trying to pursue this truth that may be only, yeah, of course, it's only your truth, but how is this truth going to apply and affect others, right? You want to be very careful what you say, the message that you're trying to pursue. You know what I'm saying? Even when it comes to like authority, that's the 10th house. You have so much authority to speak these things into light, but you don't need to be confrontational. You don't have to speak about it with a sense of obsession. You speak about it with this sense of truth, embodiment and trust. And if you don't trust what you say, other people will see you can't really trust what you're not going to really, they're not going to really see you trust what you say, if that makes sense, Aquarius. So like for the month of November, I wouldn't say too much. Like, I would think more than I actually say, Aquarius, because the more that you say, the more confusing things can get. I mean, of course, you're gonna have clarity at the end of the month, but it's like the more confusing the things can get with authority figures, can get with the vision that you're trying to uphold, and you want, and there are going to be some misunderstandings, right? But you want to ultimately have authentic purpose. And so if you're not sure, you don't have to pretend like you're sure. If you don't understand the power dynamics, you don't have to put your power in play and put it into the mix, Aquarius, right? You want to grow consciously, you don't need to grow rapidly. You don't need to grow because someone said you're not sure. Someone said something about you. It's not really strategic. And Mercury wants to be strategic, especially in the 10th house. And then as it goes direct, then you're able to speak at a place of embodiment and in truth and empowerment. Like, your power is yours to wield, to talk about, to embody. So all the questions that you have, let yourself question yourself. Don't speak so other people can question you, even though they may question you. It's better to ask yourself the deeper questions of life, right? And you really want to really confront these hidden agendas too, that's playing in these power houses of the 11th and 10th house. So yes, that's all I have for you, Aquarius. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye, Aquarius. Okay, Pisces. Hey, Pisces. This Mercury retrograde focuses on your 10th and ninth house, Pisces. So this is about your career, your reputation, your higher sense of learning. Even past professional opportunities can come to light, unresolved projects that you have. This can come to light or be brought to your mental mind, your philosophical ideas, and these things may return to you for review. I think that you can feel like tension between your vision, between your ambition, between like the higher realms of like information, because it's like, you know, you have these higher ideas of life and you really think these things, and yeah. Right, but these things need true priorities, right? They need clarity, and Mercury is trying to guide you to reflect on your life's purpose and also like your impact. And so you may have to reassess your long-term goals. And even though you may want these things, even though these things are so far-fetched and you're like, yes, I can, you know, of course your 10th house is Sagittarius. Of course you're very optimistic about the goals that you can achieve. You must take time to really direct your energy into more deeper parts of yourself. You know, sometimes this can bring hidden obstacles and these karmic lessons for you. I think that there's these emotional motivations that you may have, but you have to really have awareness so that you can act from an authentic light. You know, what you're trying to achieve involves blending shadow work, involves blending like prophecy, you know, the 10th house and the ninth house. Like you truly have to speak like you are the high priestess. And if you're not ready for those types of things and you're just wanting all of these things and all of your ambitions are tensed, are tensed up and they're in all of these different places, it's really hard to see the opportunities are presented to you. You have to be very mindful during this retrograde. I think that you and Aquarius have to be very mindful because, the 10th house has to do with like authority figures and it has to do with like your life direction. So don't make any like permanent decisions. If you're traveling or anything like that, don't sign any contracts. Don't try to get any type of paperwork or do anything that is so-called like long term, signing your name up for things that are long term. Even when it comes to like traveling, be very mindful of what you're doing, right? And use this time to focus and reflect on your reputation, on your career, on your higher learning. Even revisit some books, you know what I'm saying, or revisit some opportunities that, even past opportunities can come to you, but take time. This is 20 days. I would say the whole month really, but take the month to actually think about it. It isn't going to go away. It doesn't need to be a rushed thing. And even like being rushed, like a rush project, it doesn't need to be like that. It has to be feel it like you have to have a philosophy towards this purpose, towards this pursuit, and you have to have true intention behind it, right? And there are karmic lessons that can come to light as well. Even some obstacles, as I said, because if you're not truly grounded in this needed clarity that you'll get. But if you're not going to be during this retrograde. You want to take time to really examine your mind. Where do you want to go? Why do you want to do these things, right? And is it going to take you to where you really want to go? And just sit with yourself and your higher self and ask yourself these questions. And I would suggest, getting like a pendulum and moving and asking yourself questions, or even writing some stuff down, even sitting alone and asking yourself, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And seeing how your body reacts, like really having talks with your intuition and, being optimistic, but also making lists and making plans to get these things done or to propel these things forward. After the retrograde, you have more clarity, like, oh, I should do this and this and this. And this is really going to impact your vision and impact your ambition, right? And so, yes, just take time, Pisces, and reevaluate, most importantly. So, yes, that's all I have for you, Pisces. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Pisces.